We know a few things about Donald Trump. One, that he definitely stole tons of documents he wasn't supposed to. And two, he absolutely despises paying anyone who does any work for him. And the DOJ understands both of those things too. And so they decided to troll him a little bit, or at least that's the way I'm interpreting it. So the DOJ has asked Raymond Dearie, the special master, for another day to secure a third-party vendor to create this online portal that they'll use to share information with Donald Trump and his legal team. Because no vendor thus far that they've approached is agreeing to work with Donald Trump. Now, what does that mean? Why would they be working with Donald Trump? Are they working with the DOJ? Sort of, they're working with both. But importantly, remember, Donald Trump is the one that has to pay them. And so none of them want to do that work because he doesn't want to pay when it's like his thing. When it's a portal designed to share information that proves he committed crimes, you think he's gonna be writing those checks? No way. And so they sent this letter to him, and we'll put it up there. Mueller, she wrote, shared it on Twitter. The important part is the last sentence. This is from the DOJ. Plaintiff to pay the vendor's invoices promptly when rendered. So they are acknowledging that this dude doesn't pay his obligations, and they're putting pressure on Raymond Dearie to make sure that he does. Now, he seems pretty fair. I have a feeling he will rule that way. It's going to be hilarious to see what Judge Aileen Cannon does to say that Trump doesn't have to actually pay this thing. Because again, if he doesn't, and if that means they can't get a third party vendor, then that is again going to slow things down.
Yes, and not just that, but they were saying that they would only do it if the Justice Department agrees to pay for it in advance, and that like basically front the money, and they're not gonna do it. I don't know why these places don't just say, okay, we'll do it for Trump, but money up front, bro. Money up front. Probably because they don't even trust his money up front. They're gonna be using one of those markers on his 20s and his 100s, making sure they're not counterfeit.
Yeah.
They just need to check it at every corner. I mean, he's the president. He easily could have been like, I'd like to tour the mint. I wouldn't be surprised if he toured the mint when he was president and just pocketed tons of money. It reminds me of this great clip that shows the great delusion of Trump supporters. Back one point during his presidency, he went and visited one of his hotels. I think it was his hotel in DC, and there were a bunch of workers there, everyday workers, and Trump, who clearly had like an air of disgust being around them even, but kind of condescendingly took out a wad of cash from his pocket and peels off like 3 or 4 $1 bills from the top and hands them to one of the workers. And they're like, oh, thank you, sir, thank you, sir. And then slyly, you can see in the video, keeps the wad in his hand and puts it back in his pocket. It probably was only $300-400. He could have at least garnered some good faith by giving the whole wad to the workers, and every one of his supporters that you could clearly see him pocketing most of the wad said he gave all of his money to these workers out of his own pocket. They don't even trust their own eyes.
Yeah. No, it's the, the what's that? The king wears no clothes or whatever. It's that thing. Like he could walk around fully naked and they'd be talking about his marvelous robes, his tie that goes down to his knees. Yeah, they deny what's right in front of their faces.
Plus, I guess if you see something going down to Trump's knees, you'd have to assume it's a tie because we know it's not other stuff.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.